Everyone, it's Paul and Kyle back with yet another episode of the Hip Hop Debate. This week, we had some things going on in hip hop, so we'll just dive right into them. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the Free Larry Hoover concert with Kanye and Drake. We just talked 10 seconds ago, right before this. You said you didn't watch it.
Nope.
All right. Well, honestly, it was a really good show. It was supposed to be on at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and it ended up being on at 11, which means it's 11 Eastern time. And then when it was 11 at Eastern time, it said at 9 p.m. Pacific time, so that it was actually at midnight. Then midnight strolls around here, and then the Sunday service comes out at 12:22, and then Kanye and Drake walk out at 12:45, and then they go right into it. And then Kanye does his own thing. Great. Like I stood up, so I was like, once it went on, I was like, all right, well, I'm up now. I'm gonna watch the whole thing. I stayed up all this time. So then he was really good. And then when he did Can't Tell Me Nothing, Drake came on stage. He also covered Find Your Love by Drake, because he co-wrote and co-produced that. So
Yeah.
he performed that. Then he did Can't Tell Me Nothing. Drake came on stage. Then Drake was on for a little while. He did some old, some new. And then Kanye came back on when Drake was doing 24. He covered that song on Kanye's on Donda. He covered that song, Drake. And then Kanye came on, and then Kanye closed it out, and then Drake came on when to do Forever.
So wait, they were never on together?
Only for like one actual song together, like two separate shows. So it was like two separate shows. Oh wait, I can't say something.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
All right, I'll cut that out. It cut out for me for some reason. My AirPods got connected, and I was like, what? My AirPods are not. So it cut out the audio. I was like, I don't hear anything you're saying. All right, so we'll 3, 2, 1. So yeah, they were never on stage at the same time.
Huh. To me, that's really interesting to me, because like I would have expected them to just be together the whole time and not like go like back and forth and do like one song together. And like I would expect them, especially since it's like such a big like, hey, like we're friends again. So it's like the whole like we're friends again thing doesn't really apply, because neither of them like really like spent time performing with the other.
Yeah, so it was
it's kind of interesting.
For their that wasn't like the point of it. I think they rekindled it and they're doing it together, but it was for like, I don't know if you know much about it. Kanye's really big on trying to free Larry Hoover. Whatever anyone thinks of him is whatever, but that's like the whole purpose of what he's been doing lately, and the whole point of this concert. And he's like, well, if I get Drake out here, how many people are going to be watching this, me and Drake. So right. I think that was the point of it. And I wish, as a fan, they did more, but take what you can get from Kanye and Drake. So it was really good. They did both really good jobs, and it was a good show. I went to bed at 2:30 last Thursday, and I was absolutely shot on Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's late for you.
Yeah, very late. So yeah, it was really good. And I got a filling that Friday too, so I was like out of it on Friday. I was just tired and just had a filling. So yeah, that's
so how can you watch it? Can you watch it on YouTube, or is it on Apple Music, or?
It was on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
So all right. Amanda has Prime, so
okay.
Yeah, that's how we watched it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, so now we're gonna run through some quick things. Rick Ross album, did you listen?
I did not.
Juice WRLD, did you listen?
No, I did not.
Birdman and NBA YoungBoy, did you listen?
I probably never will.
All right, Russ, did you listen?
Nope.
All right, I didn't listen to any of those either. So,
Moving on.
moving on, we're gonna get into the topics. This was besides that concert, I really had a tough time thinking of like what went on this week, and there
Yeah.
really wasn't much going on. So I was like, let me just name some random albums and see if he maybe listened to any of them.
Nope.
Yeah, I
No,
didn't either.
there was a time when I used to get excited for a Rick Ross album,
Same.
but nowadays it's just like, he's kind of like washed up to me at this point. Like,
Yeah.
he's still on some good features and stuff, but I don't get nearly as excited for his albums as like a Teflon Don or a God Forgives and I Don't. Like, those were the last two for me that were like really, like, I loved those albums, and then after that just didn't really pay any more attention to them.
I really like those two, and I like the one after that. That was what was the name of that?
Yeah, I I can't
There's one with like
remember
the
the name of it.
shattered background. There's like his face and like the yeah, that
Yeah.
album. I like that one. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I didn't
Mastermind.
Mastermind. Yep, I like that one. But yeah, he just after that, I just kind of stopped, and I
Yeah.
haven't listened to him maybe on a feature like you said. So yeah,
Yeah.
and Juice World. I know you don't really listen to Juice World. Uh,
Mhm.
I listened to like half of it, and I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's just I understand why people like him. I just don't personally like that type of
Yeah.
rap. Um,
Yeah.
he reminds he's like a rap punk, but
Mhm.
it's I just not that big a fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. I've never really got into him. Um, and kind of like you said, like the rap punk, like I whenever I think of like rap punk, I think more of like a Playboy Cardi, or
Yeah,
even like a Travis Scott. Like those guys I'm just a little bit more interested in. Um, so yeah, I heard a lot of people like him a lot, and a lot of people appreciate his music, and especially after his passing, people want to like have more to listen to, but he's never really been my style.
yeah. Like I listened to his first, I think, album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, and I was like, wow,
Mm.
this is good. And then I listened to the next album, and I was like, okay, this is the same thing. So I was like at one
Yeah.
album, like if that was one album, that was like his first album I liked, but then I was like, all right, I'm good.
Mhm.
It's the same thing I feel like.
Yeah.
So personally, but hey, he has a big fan base. Um,
Yeah. Right.
so next, Birdman, NBA YoungBoy. We'll just skip past that. I don't listen to either of those at all, and I don't think you
No.
do either. NBA YoungBoy does have a
Nope.
big fan base though. He he has a
Yeah, he
big fan
does.
base, which I
Hmm.
guess kudos to him. And then Birdman is just
Hmm.
he's Birdman. And then Russ dropped a new album. Have you ever listened to Russ?
No. Nope.
No, me either. I've listened to maybe like half a project or maybe even a whole project, but it just never. I never was like, oh man, I want to listen to more of him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he's not my style of rap. All right,
Yeah.
so it was like I said, it was a very exciting week in hip hop. Not for any of
Was
artists we
was
like.
Russ was Russ the Astro original version, like his voice was like way turned down, or was that Nav?
Oh no,
I
that was
can't remember.
Nav. That was Nav.
Nav. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Never mind then.
All right. That's it on Russ. All right. So we're going to get into the segments. These are actually all segments Kyle came up this week, and they're actually very good. I was thinking of adding a fourth, but I was like, I didn't have anything that just, these were really all good segments. So we're going to start with the first one, and I guess I'll go first. Uh, how many more classic albums does Kendrick need to be top five all time? And I'm going to start by saying, I think Kendrick is already top five all time. I think he is cemented his place in hip hop history. Just with the, I think if he does one more, he's like, all right, he's he can be legitimately the goat if in some people's eyes.
Mhm.
Um, I think he has three classic albums: Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn. Uh, he is one of the best storytellers in hip hop history. Every album is a story. Not many rappers can do that for their every album that they've released, or at least the last three have been like that. If you could debate on Section 80 if you want. How many also? Wait, how many rappers have had three classic albums? Like, not like the only the greats of the greats have three classic albums if you really think about it. Um, and he has three. I think personally three. Some people could even say three for not Damn and Section 80. I think some people feel that way for Section 80. They like it a lot. I personally, to me, it doesn't. It's not as nearly as good as the other three. Um, but he has definitely two. I think everyone could say Good Kid, Mad City, and To Paper Butterfly. People go up in the air on Damn and Section 80.
Mm.
So his last three, like I said, were classics. So you just kind of expect that from now because he dropped one and then he dropped another. You're like, oh man, you kind of expected Damn to be a classic. Now he dropped Damn, and if you feel like Damn is a classic like I do, you're expecting another classic from him. Um, so he's just
Mm.
very few rappers are in that realm. He won a Pulitzer Prize for Damn. Whether like I said, people have different feelings on Damn, but it won a Pulitzer Prize. Like that's the first ever, I think, hip hop album ever to do that. So that's pretty significant, I would say. Even in just people like, oh, that's not really like Grammy or certain other awards, but like that's a Pulitzer Prize. It's something where a hip hop album has never won before. That has to
Mm.
mean something. And
Right.
then the last thing about Kendrick is his anticipation for his next album is, I feel like, like up there with, probably it's number one right now in hip hop. People are waiting for a Kendrick album. I am heavy on Twitter, so I see trending every day Kendrick, or maybe at least a few times a week, and I'm like, is there singles coming, or did he tweet something, or is there a post or something? Like, is it something? And it's always just people like someone either saying something like a fact about Kendrick, or something went like finally gold or
Mm.
platinum, like a single, or people like talking trash. And it's like, all right, well, it's like, oh, Kendrick's actually not that good. I'm like, all right, shut up. But it's never something new, and I'm so waiting so bad for Kendrick, because the two I'm waiting for the most are Kendrick and Travis Scott. Travis Scott, we were probably close, but I don't think we're going to be close anytime soon. So it's really on Kendrick's shoulders
Yeah.
now. And Kendrick, if you're listening, which I know you are, uh, it's please drop whatever album you're planning on dropping this decade. And that's why I think Kendrick's top five all time. To me, he's top. He's if he's not top three, he's very close. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's on his way, and the only reason why for me I won't put him in the top five yet is just because he's had such a young career, and uh, you know, there's definitely been some artists, and there's not a lot, but there's definitely been some artists who started out really hot and then just kind of fell off a little bit. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to Kendrick, but history shows that sometimes that does happen. Last episode we talked about 50 Cent and how big he started off and then just kind of became irrelevant, right? And we talked about, like, we didn't talk about it, but if you think about another person like Eminem was kind of the same thing. Like, he had three like great albums, I think it was, right? Like the Slim Shady LP, then Marshall Mathers LP, and then Eminem Show. And then after that, nothing was really much the same for him, So like there have been artists who start off really hot with like two albums or three albums, and then they just kind of fall off. And there's definitely, for Kendrick, there's definitely room to do either or. Like, there's room for him to just keep getting better and better, which I think is what everybody expects him to do. But then there's also like, you can't really say that it's not impossible for him to just like not be up to par as like some of his other stuff. So for me, like, I feel like just because he has such a young career, and he's only put out three albums, like, I still think that in order for him to be considered in my top five, like, of all time, to beat out some of like the greats that we've talked about so many times on this show, I think that he needs to drop at least like two more classics, and they don't have to come like one after the other. But like, for me personally, like, I think that a lot of people will go back and forth with Damn, right? Like, Damn, like, a lot of people think that Damn's a great classic album, like you do. I'm kind of more of the one that thinks that Section 80 is probably a classic, whereas Damn is a very good album. And I've never been able to kind of say that it's a classic. Like I thought that maybe that was probably my least favorite album of his.
Wow.
So yeah, so for me, I think that his three classics, and again, he's got three classics. Whether you want to decide about between Damn or Section 80, that's usually like the biggest debate, but nobody really can debate the fact that the two other classics are To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City. So however you by his third greatest album, he's still got two like undisputed great albums. So for me, like, again, just like Damn, I feel like Damn wasn't as up to par as like the other two, and that's just kind of how I feel. And I think that with this new album that he's going to be dropping whenever he drops it, I think there's like a sense of like he needs to prove that he wasn't just peaking in the beginning, like that he can actually like sustain this level of greatness for like album after album after album. And I think, you kind of touched on how like most artists like have three great albums to be considered like one of the greatest of all time. But I actually think that some artists have more. Like, I think if you think of like Nas or even like a Kanye West or, I'm trying to think of like somebody else, but or Jay-Z, like they have more than three. I think Kanye has more than three albums of all time that are like great. Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, so going back to that, so I was gonna say like Eminem, people say he has what, two or three classics, and some people think he's the GOAT. So it just varies, and I think of the like how like Kanye, I think has, like I said, I think Kanye has like 5 or 6. That's just me because I'm such a big fan of him. But I understand how Nas has a more than three. Jay-Z has more than three. I just think Kendrick has three, and personally, and he's like projecting. If he gets a fourth, I'm like, how is he not like? Because four is like very. You're in Jay-Z, Kanye, and Nas territory, or who else is there? No one is there. Drake's not there. J. Cole's not there. Biggie's not there. He could have been, but he's not. Tupac is not there.
Yeah.
So well, and that's like rare, rare status or rare career wise.
Yeah, that's true. And I just, I was going to mention like Biggie and Pac too, because like, unfortunately their career got cut short, and who knows like what they could have done if they were still around, like they probably could have dropped, Biggie only had 2 albums. He could have dropped like, he could have like 10 by now. And most of them probably would be classics again if he keeps that same like energy that he's had, in the beginning of his career. Like he'd have a lot of classics himself. So I don't know. I feel like right now, like I feel like Kendrick is on his way there, and I don't have any reason to doubt that he's gonna like stop at any time or just like start to regress, like some of the other artists that we've talked about. But I also just I worry that he's either gonna get too comfortable, or he puts so much energy into like his beginning work that all of his other stuff in the future is just not gonna be on the same level as like a To Pimp a Butterfly or Good Kid, Mad City. To me, a Section 80, to you, like a Damn. Like I hope that that's not the case. So I don't know. I think if I think that there's 2 more classic albums in him, I think that those albums will just kind of prove to everybody that like he's here for the long haul. Like he's not just like some guy who puts out 3 classic albums in his first leg of his career, and then like he's done and he's just like not relevant, or he's not relevant anymore. So I feel like he does still have that sense of like, I need to prove something, because he's had such a young career and just not a lot of work. Like if you really think about it, like again, only 3 albums, and he's been around for more than a decade now. So he's got 3 like studio albums. He had a mixtape. He had that Untitled kind of like B-side stuff that he did, which was also really good. And he's done other stuff like features, and he did the soundtrack for like the Black Panther. So he's done all that. But when you think of just like studio albums, like he's really only has 3. And so I just feel like there's still, like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of room for him to keep going with that and just keep getting better and keep impressing us. But there's also at the same time, there could be a lot more room for him to just kind of regress. And I hope that that's not what happens. But I just I feel like he needs to give me like 2 more, just so that I can say like, okay, yeah, like this guy's not going anywhere. Like he is who he is and who we thought he was from the very beginning, you know? So I think those albums just kind of need to prove something to me a little bit,
Yeah.
but you know, like I said, I think he's on in the right path, and there's really no reason for me to doubt him at this point. So
I have a
so yeah.
question back to you about that. So say
Okay.
someone like, I'll take someone like Nas. He
Yeah.
just, how many classics would you say, because you're a bigger fan of Nas than I am, how many classics would you say he has?
Man, that's tough. So I would say, I would say Illmatic is
Yeah.
obviously. I would even say Stillmatic is a classic, because I think a lot of people saw that as like a return to prominence a little bit. And he had some really great songs on that. I think Godson is also a really good album. I even think people have started to come around on It Was Written. I think that album, you know, it gets a lot of bad rep a lot because it was the follow up to Illmatic, and even though it wasn't like on the same level, like it's still a really good album. And even I'd even say like the Lost Tapes, the first one, like that's a really good album too. So right there, that's 5, you know. And you can debate, like again, like you with Kanye, like if you're like a big Nas fan, like I would also say like his last 2 are
Yeah.
like pretty classic in terms of rap in this day and age. Like those are some of the best rap albums that we've heard in the past, like I don't know, 10 years maybe. Like I think King's Disease 1 and 2 are just really great albums, and I also love his Untitled album. So like if you're a big Nas fan, like you can go on and on about all the great albums he has, but I think to me, like there's at least 3 or 4 that are just like undisputed.
Okay.
You know, like they're great, you know.
So
So
the thing I have to say about Kendrick is he has, and you could even say like 5, 6 for Nas, but Nas
okay.
has had, and Kanye, I think had, that's, I think why one of the many reasons that he's the GOAT in that way is because I think at least his first 3 were classic. Then I say 808s is because of what it meant to hip hop. But then My
Yep.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and then you could say, so some people say Yeezus isn't. I also think Yeezus is not classic, but it's a very good album.
Yeah.
5 classics in like a row, like, or 3, and then
Yeah.
but it is, 808s is a classic whether you like are a fan of it or not. It's a classic for what it means, I think.
Right.
So it had like 5. So like Kendrick's in that like more that realm where like Nas has these classics, but he also has some ones, as you mentioned, that might not be. So, and it's not a
Yeah.
knock against Nas because Jay-Z is the same way in that sense, where
Right.
Jay-Z has some classics and then he has some duds. So
Yeah.
like Kendrick
Right.
is like on that, like he's hasn't released anything that's been like and if he keeps doing
Right.
that even with the next one, I'm like, all right, well, he's up there. But that's what I understand where you're saying with where
Yeah.
your point of view in that. That's where I was just like, let me ask you about Nas because Kanye has at least 3 in a row, and then
Right.
I think 5 in a row, but he has a bunch of
Yeah.
classics, and yeah,
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because like I was thinking of that too, because like, you know, most greats, unlike Kendrick, their classic albums don't come back to back, right? Like
yeah,
a lot of most artists, like they have, in terms of Nas and Jay-Z, like their first album was classic, right? And
yeah,
then like after that, they kind of have albums that were just like, okay, but then like they hit you with another one. And for me, it's just, you know, while Kendrick has 3 back to back, like there's
yeah.
still so much time in his career for him to like have a dud. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, like
More like
if he
an
gives me
Eminem
2 more, yeah,
or a
exactly. So if he
Tupac
gives
even.
me, sure. Yeah. So if he gives me like 2, if his next 2 albums are classics, like that would just be like, okay, like this dude, he might be the greatest of all time then, because there's no reason for me to believe that he's just going to stop this, because he's done it for 5 albums now,
Yeah,
you know? But so what I'm saying is like, I just might need 2 more, because what if his next album is kind of like a dud compared to the other ones, you know?
yeah,
So like, if that's the case, then it's like, okay, like, you know, you're still one of the greatest of all time, but can I put you in the top 5 because, you know, you had 3 great albums, but then you've had like, you know, 2, 3, 4 albums after those that were just okay. But then he can come back and he can hit me with another classic. And it's like, okay, you're back on your, you know, you're on your roll now. So,
yeah.
so I don't know, like I feel like for me, I'm just like hopeful that he does end up becoming the greatest, like one of the greatest of all time, like top 5. But I just feel like I need to see a little bit more of discography a little bit,
Okay,
in order
yeah,
for me to fully say that. But for me, like he's clearly already one of the greatest because of he's so young, and he's had such little time to make such great albums that I
yeah,
just feel like I need a little bit more for me to finally say like, okay, yes, he's in like the Nas category, he's in the Jay-Z category, he's even in like an Andre 3000 who had classic albums with Outkast, like those guys had great albums, the Kanye's. So I feel like I need a little bit more from him. And if it continues to be as good as it has been, then for sure, like, it's unquestionable that he's top 5.
yeah.
So yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll go on to the next topic, and I'll let you go first on this. So, what is the best hip hop music video of all time?
Whew, man, this one was fun to decide because
Yeah.
I changed my mind in like the last 10 minutes before the show. So I had a sure answer until like 10 minutes before the show, and I was like,
Damn.
no way, I gotta change it. So I'm gonna shout out my original pick before I get
No,
into the
wait,
one I actually think.
go do
Okay.
it after because I have also have something.
Okay. All right. So I had my original pick, and I was just like typing up notes about my original pick. And then I saw I actually saw the video of the one I'm about to say on the internet. And I was like, oh man, how did I forget about this? So I think, to me, the greatest hip hop music video that I've ever seen, the one that sticks out in my mind the most, is "This Is America" by Childish Gambino.
Wow.
I think that music video is so unreal. And I think that some of the parts that just like stick with me are just the fact that, first of all, nobody had heard that song before the music video came out. Like when the music video came out, like that song, that was the song. Like it came out
Yeah.
like when the music video came out.
And that
So
shows how
like
important it
nobody.
was.
Exactly. So, and so the music video comes out, and that's like the first time people are hearing the song. And so the first time I'm listening to it, like it starts off with like this like very like soulful, uplifting kind of like rhythm. You think that it's gonna be like this like nice, warm, sentimental song with like these like little guitar loops and then like this like chorus or the choir singing. And then and then even like Childish Gambino's like dancing, like he's doing like these like little like hip thrusts and like shoulder shakes, and I'm just like, oh man, this is like Redbone, this is like Redbone part 2 or whatever. And then just out of nowhere, he just comes up from behind this guy who's sitting in a chair playing the acoustic guitar and puts a pistol to his head and just blows his brains out. And it's like, holy shit, like what is going on here? And that basically like starts off like the chaos that this whole music video is. Like you're talking about things like that, and you're talking about like you know all the shit that's going on in the background, particularly like the white horse with the Dark Knight writing in the background, and
Yeah.
you got cop cars burning and shit like that. And meanwhile, like he's like all this stuff is happening in the background, and he's like sitting there like doing like all these like TikTok dances and
Yeah.
dances that like just like have been viral for so long on the internet. So it's like it's just chaos. And then it goes back to the choir for a little bit, and they're all singing and they're clapping, and then he walks through the door and just like blows them away with an AK-47. It's like, like what is happening in this music video?
Yeah.
um and so it's just like all the crazy things that are happening. And when you really think about it, like the video itself, like it generalizes America a lot at the time that it came out. You have like the viral dances that people were doing on TikTok, and you have like references to like the mass shootings that were happening, and people rioting, and everybody like the whole thing with like people being in their phones and like not being aware of like what's happening in the world around them and stuff like that. It was just like a very, I don't know, like very thematic music video that basically described our world in like I think it was 2018 when it came out.
I
um
think.
just like yeah, just like completely like subliminally describes like our country at that time. and
Yeah.
and it just kind of ends with Young Thug like singing that part where he's like, oh, he's just a black man in this world, and he's like running away from like all these like white guys in the background. And in the beginning it's like all dark, so all you can see is just like his like the white of his eyes, and he's like running away from these people and like screaming. And I don't know, there's just so much going on in that music video. And it all kind of adds to like the overall perspective of the song, because I feel like without that video, there wouldn't be like all these like different theories and messages about what that song or what that
Yeah.
video kind of like interpret. You know, like you need the music video with the song. Like if you just listen to the song, because I think he released the song by itself later, and if you just listen to the song, like it doesn't really mean as much as it
Yeah.
would with the music video. So I feel like not only is the music video like so great in the way that it's like filmed and kind of like performed, but it's also so important to the song. Like you need to have that video attached to it. And
Yeah.
then, you know, just the last thing, you know, I think it's one of the greatest music videos of all time. And, you know, mainly because of the views. Like if you look at how many views it got, it now has like 809 million views, which is like one of the highest viewed music videos of all time. So I mean, it's just one of those music videos that just sticks into my head. Like when I first saw it, I was like, my eyes were like wide open watching the screen, like,
Yeah.
what is happening? And to me, like that's why it's the greatest hip hop music video to me of all time. My honorable mention now was the one that I had originally picked. Another one of my music videos that like I just again is one that just sticks into my mind. Like when I hear hip hop music video, I immediately think of this one. But I was gonna say Yonkers by Tyler the Creator,
Okay.
because that it's the same thing. Like that music video to me is just so wild, and that one's so basic. Like it's just him in a room with a chair, but everything that's like going on, like, you know, him with like eating the cockroach and throwing up,
Yeah.
and then he's got like those demon eyes, and then he like hangs himself. Like it's just all so crazy and bizarre. So that was going to be my original one until I picked the Childish Gambino one. So yeah, just crazy video.
Yeah, the Childish Gambino, This Is America is really good. It's definitely something that's, I've watched it a bunch of times. Very,
Yeah,
like you said, when you're shocking, especially the first time, and you're just,
yeah.
it's something that people remember bits and pieces of, like a
Hmm.
lot, everyone does. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely classic music video. For me, I went with uh, something maybe just more of just a good video, not as like, you know, not as, I guess, important or something you would say, not as, political, whatever you want to say. Uh,
Yeah.
is Sensual Seduction by Snoop Dogg.
Huh. I don't
No,
even think I've ever seen that.
it's not that. That's
Okay.
it's like
Okay.
it's like a old like dancing video. It's like it's it's a very good vibe, but
Okay.
the real thing is Juicy by Notorious B.I.G. I feel like that
Mm,
music video is so classic. It's just, you could see like it's bits and pieces of him growing up, and then
yeah.
like him enjoying the fruits of his labor, and just, you know and that song itself is so timeless. To me, it's one of the best hip hop songs of all time. So just that music
Yeah.
video of just him, like, you know it's a celebration song in a way, and him celebrating in the music video, and with his
Mm,
mother and his family and his friends. It's just, I think it's just such a classic music video, and it's still so timeless. Uh,
yeah.
you know, it to me, I could always watch that. It never gets old, and there's very few music videos to me that can do that. And
Right.
it's just, I think it's just a classic hip hop music video, and like I said, it's just never gets old for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a good pick, and I think that is a good pick because it's like you said, it's like a great song and a great video. So it's like you kind of get like a 2 for 1 there. Like, you know, if you watch the video, it's like you're gonna enjoy watching the video, but you're also gonna enjoy listening to the song.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a good pick. I like it.
yeah. I was also gonna pick "Work It" by Missy Elliott, because her music videos were good back in the day,
Yeah,
and that's a good
yeah,
song.
for
So
sure.
I was
Yeah.
gonna go that direction. I was like, I like Juicy a little better, so I go with Juicy.
Yeah.
Um,
There you go.
so we're gonna go on to the last topic, and uh, this is, who will be the next big thing in hip hop within it's a year or less. So I couldn't pick one, but I will for the sake of this. I'm gonna say, fuck. I'm gonna say Corday. And
Hmm.
do you know who Corday is?
I've heard of him. I've never listened to his music, but I've heard of who he is.
Okay. Corday is already a solid artist. His album was nominated, his debut album was nominated for a Grammy, The Lost Boy. It's really freaking good. It's a really good album. He's you know, he's releasing his second album in January. It's called From a Bird's Eye View.
Mm,
So I'm very excited for that. To me, he's more on the. He reminds me of a J. Cole or even a Nas in terms of his storytelling ability. Uh,
mm,
so he's more of a, because Kendrick can also storytell, but he's a little more like he plays with like he just his wordplay is very different. But J. Cole and Nas pretty kind of get straight to the point with their storytelling.
mm,
So he's really good. And I just think he's gonna have this album is gonna be really good. I'm really excited for it. He's already released a really like solid album, his debut album, and he I just think he's poised for a big 2022, and he's gonna
mm.
be a big like he's gonna be like this generation's like you have the little babies, you have the you know uh the baby Megan Thee Stallion, but then you're gonna get the the rapper, the J. Cole of this generation of with
Yep.
Corday, and I think he's going to be a really big artist.
Cool. Awesome. I was really tempted to say Jack Harlow just because he's just he's already so popular and he's already done some amazing things. Um, but I can't necessarily picture him as being like the face of hip hop, and that might be wrong to say just because he's a white dude from Kentucky, but like I don't know, like he's really good, and I know a lot of people like him, and he was just recently on like the 30 under 30 on Forbes, right? So he's already making pretty good money, and he's making like a successful career. But for me, like one guy that I'm really high on, and he's even like more like new than Jack Harlow. But one guy who I really enjoyed since they came out with the double XL freshman list was Moray. I think that this guy is really good, and he's like really new. Like he had a single called Quicksand, which came out, I think it was in 2020. And that was like the first time that anybody had heard of, like, he never put out anything else before that. Like he didn't even put out like any other mixtapes before that. Like that was like his like welcome to hip hop kind of
That was
thing.
his first song.
And so, yeah, it was like
Wow.
it was his first song. He actually, it started off with a music video. So it was actually just a music video, and it went viral and it got noticed. And then eventually he turned it into a single. But when he did turn it into a single, it debuted at 65 on the Hot 100. So like
Wow.
for that to be like your first ever like produced piece of music, for that to debut on the Hot 100 when nobody really knows who you are at all, like that's pretty impressive. It's impressive just to get on the Hot 100, but
Yeah.
the fact that your very first song debuts when nobody's heard of you before, I think that's really impressive. um so he did that, and then once he finally got his career started with that song and the music video, he had some big supporters from like J. Cole and DaBaby, because he's from North Carolina.
Yep.
And when you think about J. Cole, DaBaby, and Moray together, like North Carolina's on the rise. Like they're like the next big thing, with like Atlanta, New York, and like LA, like Chicago. Like they're on the rise. If they can get more guys like J. Cole, DaBaby, and Moray to kind of like come up, like North Carolina is like coming up. So, but just
Yeah.
having the support of J. Cole and DaBaby, who are two of the biggest hip hop artists alive right now, like that's also something to kind of like pat yourself on the back for. I know DaBaby's kind of having like some issues, like with like everything that's been going on with him and kind of like his controversies and stuff like that, but you can't deny that a lot of people still like his music, and to
Yeah.
have that support from those two guys is really big. So anyway, so he had that single, he gets the support from those guys, then he has a debut mixtape which came out this year in 2021. And even that, again, your first ever like commercial project, and it reaches 41 on the Billboard 200. So again, like nobody really has heard of this guy, and then all of a sudden he's just releasing like his first stuff, and it's like getting recognized like so well. So I think that that has a lot to say about just like how much people like respect him and appreciate him. And then of course, you know, he appears on J. Cole's The Off Season. He's
Yep.
on the song My Life with 21 Savage. And, you know, like you had mentioned before, like everybody on that song is so good. And so that's just going to keep helping his career, you know, like,
Yep.
you know, J. Cole's really good. 21 Savage. Oh, there's this guy Moray who also is really good. And so that song debuts at #2 on the 100. And then, you know, he was on the XXL freshman class. And to me, like he had one of the better verses on that whole thing. Like, you know, he had some of the better verses than any of the other people that were on that. So that kind of stuck out to me. And then the last like last couple of things, like, you know, so now he's not on tour with J. Cole and 21 Savage. Like that's going to help your career,
Yep.
obviously, because, you know, so many people would want to go see J. Cole and 21 Savage. And then they see a guy who's opening up for them. It's like, oh, he's pretty good too. Um,
Yep.
so there's that to consider. And then, you know, he's a Southern style rappers, which is a lot of people are listening to that nowadays, especially with like, you know, the Quavos and the Travis Scotts and, you know, you know, Migos and 21 Savage and all that. So people are really digging that Southern style right now, which helps him and it works to his advantage.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I appreciate about him, and I think a lot of people will kind of respect it about him too, is that he can rap and sing too. Which is, you know, it's, since Kanye and the Drakes all came out with like their music of like 808s and Take
And Kid
Care, like that
Cudi.
has become
Yep.
such a, yeah, and Kid Cudi, like that's become such a big part of like being a successful hip hop artist, is that the fact that you can rap and sing. So I think when you consider all of those things, like, you know, if he keeps going and he keeps doing like a great job with like his stuff, like he could be a really good artist to look out for in the future. And I'm already enjoying him. So like, I'm just kind of excited to see like how much further he can go. Um, so I'm just kind of excited to hear what he's got next. So
Yeah. I could definitely see him having a big year next year or in the next, you know, year, uh, in some change. But yeah, he's had a hot run lately, and I think he's going
yeah.
to be another big one as well. So the other person I was stuck with was Baby Keem. I think he's going to be really big.
Mm,
I think he's going to be a very big artist.
mm,
He's a mix. Obviously, he's not as good, but to me, he's a mix between Kanye and Kendrick in terms of
mm,
he can he raps like Kendrick a lot like me, but his production like style or the types of beats he uses and the I think the way he uses his voice is more
mm,
uh like similar to Kanye. So he was the other person,
mm,
but I think Corday is because he has a second album coming up. It's going to be a bigger year. Baby Keem just dropped his album in the fall or like
mm.
September or October. So it's not like, you know, he's going to drop another one. I don't think at least too soon, maybe at the end of next year, if at all. So I just
Mm.
think with Corday, like in the next year or so, Corday, you know, dropping an album in January he's gonna have a big year, and I think a lot of people are gonna start to notice him.
Yeah, yeah, and I think kind of like to comment on like your like going back and forth between the two. Like I think I agree that Corday will probably be bigger than him, just because like I feel like Baby Keem is more just like he's not political, but he's more kind of just like underground and not as like poppy as like a Corday would be, you know. So like a Corday is kind of more like you know, not necessarily like going for the hits, but I feel like he can probably make more like hits for like everybody to enjoy, whereas Baby Keem probably has more like a, I don't know, like more like a cult following or more like just like a generic audience where like he kind of like, I don't know, is kind of appealed by like people who just like the Kendricks and like kind of more like that conscious rap, whereas I feel
Yeah,
like Corday might be just more like Corday feels like more just kind of like, I don't know, like a really good like little baby or something like that, you know. So yeah, so I kind of agree. I thought about Baby Keem too, especially after since you requested his album for me to listen to. Um, but yeah, I think Corday has more of like a pop appeal, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So
yeah. I want to get that's an album you'll be listening to soon, or in the upcoming weeks, we'll say, because I can't believe I didn't give that to you yet. So yeah,
okay.
those are the three topics. Thanks to Kyle, they were all very good topics. So I want I want you guys to let us know what you think about the topics, what your opinion is, and what else you think we should be talking about in upcoming episodes. So now it's time to do the end of show, but we start with the album review, which this week it's Jack Honcho, Honcho Jack. No, Honcho Jack, Jack Honcho by Travis Scott and Quavo. Floor is yours.
Yeah, so I thought this album was good. Um, I enjoyed it. I think that, you know, the first thing that comes to mind when I want to describe this album is bangers. I feel like it's just full of bangers. Like I feel like it's just like an album that like I wish had probably come out when we were in college, because I feel like that's just like, it was just like such like a party, like kind of like, you know, vibing out kind of album. And I really appreciated that about it, because you know, that's, who doesn't love good bangers and who doesn't love good party music. So
Yeah,
so I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I definitely like the chemistry that Travis and Quavo have together. I think that they do a really good job, and this isn't the first time that we've heard them together,
yeah,
but I think in terms of like a full album's worth where like they're kind of going back and forth with each other on each track, I thought it was entertaining, and definitely kept my interest. I would say that my favorite track is probably Black and Chinese. I thought that album was really funny, and I like Travis's like little hook on that track. So I thought that that was really good. Motorcycle Patches was one of the songs that I was kind of thinking like, this sounds a little bit too much like an Astro World leftover, or like or maybe like it almost sounded a little bit more like but the Butterfly Effect song to me. So that one I was okay with. And you know, Takeoff, like what can you say about Takeoff? Like he's not the greatest, but but it was fine. And you know, I liked the song with Offset a lot too. I think, you know, Offset is, I think to me, I actually prefer to listen to Offset more than Quavo. Um, but that's just my opinion.
I think a
But
lot
I
of
thought that
people
it was
think
real.
that too.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, I think that there was, you know, it's a good album. Now, I don't think that like I would prefer to listen to it over like an Astro World or a Rodeo, or even some of like other artists' albums that are kind of similar to it,
Yeah,
like Without Warning with 21 Savage and Offset and Metro Boomin. Like I'd rather listen to that. So I feel like in that regard, it's kind of a little bit like inferior to some of those other albums. But you know, if I just want to listen to like um, Travis Scott, you know, for like, you know, like a couple hours during a day, like, you know, that's definitely an album that like I wouldn't refrain from. So so I think it was good, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's a fun album to listen to.
yeah,
Definitely has some good songs and good ideas. I just think that it's like not as like on par with like some of like their solo stuff. So so that's just me, but I enjoyed it. And you know, I definitely like the vibe. I think the production is really great, especially like with some of the songs that have kind of like flute samples to it or something like that. So yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, and I love Travis Scott. I like Quavo. I'm not a big like Migos fan, but I thought he held his own on the album. And overall, you know, I thought it was entertaining, and it kept me interested, and something I'll revisit for sure when I want to listen to like an Astro World or a Rodeo or Without Warning, or even like a Savage Mode or something like that. So
yeah,
it'll make a good like Travis Scott, Quavo, 21 Savage playlist kind of filler. so
yeah,
so I liked it.
yeah. I think for what it's worth, like it's not like if you're looking for like a good quality storytelling or
Right.
anything like it's just like you said it in the beginning, it's bangers. So if you're just like
Yeah.
going for a drive or something like that, and you just want to listen to bangers, or you know you're pre-gaming or something, or you're just at the gym and you need energy or something,
Right.
it's like good for that. But it's not like the best. Obviously, the lyric, you're not going for the lyrics,
Right.
and it's good for what it is. I'll say that.
Right. And I feel like you already, before you even listen to it, you already know what you're getting yourself into. Like,
Yeah,
you know, when I was listening to it, like I said the exact same thing in my head. I was like, you know, there wasn't really one like line on that album where I was like, ooh, like that damn, that
yeah,
was a good line. But at the same time, like I made similar thoughts like that when like I'm just listening to the song, like, oh, this is a good beat, or oh, Travis's flow is really good here, or you know, oh, Quavo's doing his thing, but it's like a little bit better than like some of the other stuff that he would do on like a Migos album. So so yes, I mean, like you said, to me it's like a vibe. And you just kind of put it on like when you're feeling that vibe. But you know, like I said, like, you know, it's still good. And I think that their chemistry is better than some of the other albums that have had like, you know, two stars kind of going together. Like, you know, I always think of What a Time to Be Alive, and how just how off Drake and Future were on that. Like I just feel like they
yeah,
didn't kind of like come together as nicely on that album, except for like maybe like a couple of songs on it. But
I agree.
these guys fit, and you kind of already knew that, like they've done work before,
Yeah.
so like that they're good together. So the fact that they made an album together is just like, okay, like if you liked their other stuff, then you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like you know what you're getting, and if you like that, then great. And for me, like, and I know for you as well, like we both like Travis Scott and we both like Quavo and we both like them together. So you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, I have to agree. Awesome. So now it's time for Kyle to give me an album to listen to. So
All right. So after the last time, I made a list, or I
okay.
I reinvented the list a little bit. So I added some good stuff on here. So I'm thinking that I have some good ideas. But one album that I want you to try, and I don't think you've listened to it. I really don't. So this is an album that I actually just listened to for the first time, like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I listened to it for the very first time, and I've known about this person before, but I never really like gave them the time of day to like listen to their stuff. So I listened to this one album by them, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. This album is really good.
Okay.
So I am going to request, and I pray that you haven't heard it because I will be crushed. But I'm gonna suggest for you to listen to Eve by Rhapsody.
No, I have not.
Okay, good. It is very good. And so obviously she's a female rapper, and you know she's not like your quintessential like Megan Thee Stallion or Nicki
Nikki.
Minaj.
Yeah.
Like she is like a very hardcore rapper, almost like a Lauryn Hill, but just a little bit more like gritty and almost like thuggish a little bit. So
Okay.
so yeah, definitely check her out. I know that she's been on like she was on Kendrick's album To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yep.
But she can hold her own, and she can rap, man. So I'm excited for you to listen to it.
You said Eve.
Eve. Yep.
All right, I'm downloading
And
it right now.
and and just like Young Thug, all of her song titles on this album are named after her biggest influences. So
Huh.
yeah.
That's cool.
So
Awesome. I'm excited to
I'm
listen to
excited.
it because I've
I'm ex-
heard her on two songs, on Kendrick, and then another song I think she did a feature or she collabed with someone, and
Yep.
I remember liking her on it.
Yep. Yeah. So like I said, like I listened to it for the first time probably 3 weeks ago. And when I first heard it, like I had it on repeat for like a good week. So
Really
yeah. So I was really impressed. So I hope you feel the same.
awesome. Yeah, I'm downloading it right now.
All right.
Nice. So I will review Eve by Rhapsody next week. So as always, follow us on Twitter at We Debate Hip Hop. Follow us on Instagram at The Hip Hop Debate. We're also The Hip Hop Debate on YouTube, so subscribe. And we're on every podcast platform that's available. If we're not for some reason, let us know which one, and we will get it on there. Um, and as always, let us know what you think. Comments, like, subscribe, uh, and just if you want to hear us talk about any topic, just DM us or comment on us. All right, everyone, it's been real. Deuces.
Peace.